icebreaker. We're going to talk about AI and education. We're going to try to understand how ChatGPT or LLMs work. And we're going to try some patterns. So we're going to learn what patterns are. That image there I created with DALL-E using the prompt AI as a helpful assistant. And that's the image that AI created for me. So we're going to be using AI. So if you have access to ChatGPT or any other tool, feel free now to open it up so you can try the same prompts that we're going to be trying here. I'm going to also share with you a link or a companion Google Doc where all the prompts and all the things that we're going to be doing are copied there. So you can actually just copy and paste in your own ChatGPT or whatever Claude, thing. It's good to know that now CUNY has given us access to a chatbot, which is Copilot. And Copilot is accessible also for students, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And any stuff. So that's good because I don't use Copilot that often. So most of the exercises are tailored for ChatGPT. But you can try and see, and we see what are the differences today.
Copilot's pretty wacky.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty wacky. So
wacky.
So we're going to be doing an icebreaker and poll everywhere. Just let me just go to that QR code. If you can see it, you maybe not see it, or you can just go to that URL on the left. So while you go there, I'm just going to go to the poll everywhere. Oh. Why it doesn't here. So the first question is, why is that doing? I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to remember. Let's answer that here. Over the last week, how often did you use generative AI tools, ChatGPT, DALL-E, GitHub, Copilot, in your work? So nobody has responded yet? They're not seeing. You only see the phone?
No, they're not. They're just seeing this.
Oh, that's why it's not moving fast.
Because we need the.
Can you see it now? So just feel free to say how many times have you used generative AI in the last week? Once? 50 times?
I don't know. A lot.
A lot.
I do a lot.
I put down 3 times.
3 times.
Only because I was sick mostly.
So, maybe in the chat, some people are sharing how many times they have used AI. And it's fine, hopefully after today, you're going to be using AI for more things. It's becoming like my friend now. And my collaborator that I don't have, that colleague that I need to ask a question and he's not there. And hopefully we're going to see how that's going to help. I hope that after today, we're going to change that for YouTube. So I think that's it. And then the second question I want to ask you is this one here. If you've used generative AI tools recently, what for? And feel free to say it out loud if you have some issues answering the poll. Share it in the chat.
I use it for OER.
For OER?
Yeah.
To create content?
To create assignments.
Oh, okay.
Of different kinds. That's what I use it most for.
Yeah.
Like
To create assignments,
yes.
Yeah.
To create a
On the
survey.
chat, Victoria is saying phone app is requiring a registration.
Oh, no, you should.
No, you don't have to skip.
Skip it. Yeah.
Write it in the chat.
There's options for.
Or write it in the chat. If you have issues with the poll, just write it in the chat. Or unmute yourself and just say it out loud. Right. Yeah.
So I'd use it to play a survey.
Nice.
To create a survey, yeah. I use it. I brainstorm this session with ChatGPT. But I'll talk about it later. It doesn't mean that ChatGPT created it. It's more about kind of like expanding ideas, right? Trying to find someone who gives you ideas you might have not thought of.
Yeah. I'm waiting for ChatGPT to do my nails.
Uh,
When ChatGPT starts doing, and then I'm gonna be happy.
It makes it just patterns
It makes it just start.
and techniques.
Okay, so in general, we have like a wide range. People who use it maybe 1-2 times a week, and then people who use it every day, several times a week, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. So today, we're going to try to see generative AI from a slightly different point of view. So I'm going to go back to the
Slides.
Yeah. and then share. Okay, so AI in education, and I think this is important. AI is not going to replace us. AI, a person using AI will replace us, right? And AI is here to help you extend your expertise or our expertise. And this is not just for faculty staff, it's also for students. And this has a side of equity and justice, social justice that we need to think about, but it's not the time for today. But this is, I hope we can have a space to discuss that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
we can leave a lot of people behind if we're going to start trying to do something about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the
Especially our
next, that's the
students.
next thing we're worried about.
Yes, and our students can be left behind.
Oh, no, they're
that
gonna
they
be
have
left.
resources.
And the students are asking about
And the
that.
students are asking about it, so
Yeah.
it's important to think about what they're doing, and then we need to move forward on trying to capture those ideas. So from this guy, Jules White, he's a professor in Canada, no, in Vanderbilt University. And what he's saying is that he would like to use, instead of AI plus, is augmented intelligence, not artificial intelligence. Because we should seek to augment our amplify human creativity and critical thinking with generative AI. We want to teach students and faculty how to use these tools as an exoskeleton of the mind. We want to avoid artificial intelligence that seeks to supplant human reasoning and leads to loss of critical thinking skills. Because as we know it, intelligence have different meanings, right? We can use it that word in different ways. So he's trying to talk more about augmented intelligence, and hopefully prompt engineering is going to be a tool to be able to do that. So let's see, what is ChatGPT? So the best way to know what is ChatGPT is to go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, what is ChatGPT? So I'm going to share with you in the chat a link to the companion Google Doc, where I have all these texts and prompts that we're going to be using throughout the session. So you can copy and paste on your own if you're at home or in the office, somewhere else trying to play with ChatGPT. So now I'm going to move out from here. I'm going to share now what ChatGPT is. Right? Oh, login. Okay, everybody can try to look.
Yeah, this is so sorry.
That's fine.
Oh,
It's like, it does not.
my photographic memory. I will forget it at second after she puts it in. So,
Oh, wrong. You see, it's like the pressure of like people seeing what I'm doing. I should have done it.
And then we want people to sign on for ChatGPT.
And people also try to log into the ChatGPT, they're not with you, right? And this is my ChatGPT, and I have a lot of different chats, right? It says every time, when I minimize it, every time I'm trying something in this box, it's going to create a new chat. So it's going to save it automatically on the left, and then you can access those previous sessions there. Now I'm going to share with you the companion document.
Oh, I can do it on my phone, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyone with the link and copy.
I'll
the
try that. Yeah.
So if you click that link that I just put in the chat, we give you access to this document. So I have their information on how to access Copilot. Thank you, Pablo, for sharing that information with me. If you don't have access to Copilot, and then the link will fall everywhere. We don't need that. And then this is interaction number 1. So I'm going to copy and paste this prompt in ChatGPT or whatever.
Sorry, Milena. So what did you share with us? A little bit to
So-
It's the Google Doc. So you can access all
I
this
got it. What is ChatGPT?
So where did you share it?
in the chat. In the chat.
In the calendar.
Oh, but you're not on Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not.
We'll find a way to get you.
Yeah, you get all
If you
these, we'll
want,
share
you
all
can-
these for
if you
later.
register for.
So you're gonna send that link later?
Oh, yeah.
would you?
Yeah,
And then you can.
I'll share that
Just
with
keep
everybody.
your device.
and the slides too.
Okay.
So I have an answer from ChatGPT.
Yeah, so let's see.
It says, they say, I don't know, how do we talk about ChatGPT? It feels like a he.
You can call it.
Yeah, well, it says that, it's a language model developed by OpenAI, fine-tune and optimize for conversational interaction with users. That can process inputs, text inputs, and generate responses based on the patterns it has learned from large data sets.
Right, so if we look at different versions, we have slightly different versions of them. So in mine, it says something different. It's saying ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence language model developed by OpenAI. So it has some similarities, but what it's doing is providing us with a slightly different answer. And the reason why is maybe that prompt that we have put up there is a zero prompt. Because it was not used in their training, right? So it's a pattern that ChatGPT didn't see in the training. Okay. Now the difference is how different our outputs have to do with something called temperature. The temperature of your language LLM. In other words, the randomness of that. And you can control with the prompts that temperature. We're going to do exercises about that. Okay. So, So you look at the companion document. There is another one. Let's say my son is 16, so I said, let's explain ChatGPT to a 16-year-old and try to give it an audience and see how that will change. So if we go to ChatGPT, we go here
From New York City?
I put it like that, yeah.
Okay.
And then it's going to change. It's going to become someone that is going to use a language that someone like what the idea of a 16-year-old in New York City will accept is the idea that ChatGPT has about a 16-year-old New York City boy, right? So it says, sure thing. Imagine ChatGPT as a super smart body who's always ready to chat with you about anything you want. It's like having a really cool robot friend who's super good. Who's super good with words. So you know how when you text or chat with your friends, you can ask questions. So it's trying to inform how ChatGPT works in the terminology that a boy of 16 years of age is going to understand. Now, what are the ethical implications of that? We don't have time to discuss that because it will have to whatever stereotype of a 16-year-old boy in New York City might be in ChatGPT based on the data they have used to train. But what is really powerful is that ChatGPT is impersonating and thinking about the audience, right? That we're putting up. And in that way, we can really start to control all that randomness that may exist, or the temperature that might exist in the model. Okay, so and then you can use this as a template, and you can play with this and change the audience persona. Maybe you can say, explain ChatGPT to a classroom of engineering students at LaGuardia Community College in New York City. It's going to change, right? And we can play with that. If anybody has any questions, just let me know. Are there any questions in the chat? No. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. So we know already what ChatGPT is. It's a large language model, right? That has been trained in a large data set. But how we can use that information to be able to kind of exploit that to make our life more efficient, right? How we can create more, create more things. So let's use this working definition of generative AI, which is a large language model, which is knowledgeable and intelligent. Intelligent, you can understand that in different ways. Assistant, designed to understand and generate human-like responses in natural language interactions. And this is important because when we think about AI, we think about only on generative AI tools. But AI has been with us for a long time, right? How do they put us, like, let's say I'm flying to Colombia and then I want to get in first class, so I wait to see if they're going to give me an upgrade. How do they do that? They have an algorithm that is a rudimentary artificial intelligence object that is going to move me up based on whatever, criteria they have. So we've been exposed to AI before. Now, generative AI is different because it's really trying to help us, or is going to change our life, how we do things in this world. And what is prompt engineering? And it's just that kind of like science. We're going to see that how we're going to communicate effectively to that entity, right? And it's important to think that AI, generative AI, is not about, I'm sorry, didn't share that? I forgot about it. So. Thank you, Paul. So it's not knowledge, it's not knowledgeable. AI is just a set of rules that is fitting and interpreting a large amount of data in terms of what is the most likely output in language terms, right? It's not that it has knowledge, it has rules to create human-like language, okay? So a prompt can be many things. It could be a message, a question, a statement, a request, set of instruction, or other inputs one can type in the ChatGPT box. Those prompts could have implications on that environment you create in the chat. For example, when we said audience persona, ChatGPT, if you don't change that, it's going to, in that same chat, is going to be answering all your questions like you were talking, like ChatGPT was talking to that persona, right? We can also say, from now on, let's just, every time you answer me a question, I ask a question, you're going to make it better. I'm going to try that later. So it's going to always do that. If you say, like, behave like a professor in a community college that is in the math department, it's going to try to behave like that throughout. So it have a temporal effect too. So we're going to see how are the techniques to be able to manipulate those responses and control that temperature. So if you're asking questions about things that are factual, you want to have that temperature very low, right? You don't want to have a lot of randomness. So you have to really create some fundamental structures for ChatGPT to be able to respond to that, put it inside a little space, right?
So a question, so you put your first behave as a professor in a math department at a community college, you put it once, and then you don't have to input that every time you put in the question.
Inside the chat, no. If you create a new one, yes.
Okay, because inside the chat, it just keeps going.
Keeps going with the
But
same
now
instructions. Yeah, it doesn't forget. They don't forget, right? Now, we're going to try this now, and we're going to have something called patterns. And patterns are things that ChatGPT or LLM will react to, right? Will react to because it had seen before. Okay, so let's try this. Let's go to ChatGPT. So again, I'm going to share. Share. Yeah, and then I go to ChatGPT. Okay, and then all these little things. ChatGPT. So I'm going to create a new chat. Okay, because I want to start from zero. So I'm going to create a new chat. You can just click at the top, ChatGPT, and you're going to type in that prompt. So you go to the companion, interaction number 2. Not all prompts are equal. So let's try this first. It's very open. It's a very open prompt. It's just saying, I don't even give an instruction. I just write this. So I expect ChatGPT to reply with the most likely set of sequence of words that can be human-like that will complete that, right? And most likely, if I do it, it's going to be slightly different from the answers that you're getting, right? So,
but in this one, you wanted to tell me that the Earth is the third planet.
So Earth is the third planet of the sun in our solar system and the only known astronomical object to harbor life. Blah, 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 blah. So some, like this one has a few lines, it's just a paragraph, but it's very, like my prompt was just like, do whatever you want after the earth is. So what it's looking for is the most likely sequence of words that will complete that. It's very
That have
ambiguous.
appeared in its training material.
Yeah, that will find in the data that I've seen
Right,
before.
that like most frequently
Yeah.
appeared in the training material to complete a sentence.
Exactly. But if I wanna make it more, if I wanna reduce that temperature,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to use a different prompt. So go to the Google Doc and copy the second prompt that I have there. So you go here and then you say, complete the sentence, the earth is. So in here, it's clear that I just want a sentence. I don't want a whole essay about earth, right? So I go here, I put it in there and I enter. So Earth is a dynamic and interconnected planet, hosting a rich tapestry of ecosystems and supporting a wide range of life forms. Did you get something different?
No, I got the same.
The same,
Well, I mean,
pretty much the
yeah,
same,
that's different phrases for that.
right? So I'm controlling with the prompt, being more specific. So that's why all not prompts are equal, right? We really need to think about how we're prompting ChatGPT. Okay, so let me go back here. Share. I'm going to go back to the slide.
So set the one to the left.
This one? Okay, the one that is already,
So,
yes,
Milena, so what you're saying is that we're putting these fences around what they're supposed, the language. So that way,
yeah, it's
Use-
linguistics, right? So it's like we wanna create, what is the name in English of corral? Like
yeah,
a fence, right? Like a place where I want ChatGPT to stay on. It depends, because if I'm doing something creative, maybe I don't want to have so many fences. I really want to explore things. So it really depends on your goal and your task.
And if we're teachers, this is not that hard, because we do this with the students all the time.
Exactly.
You know, we know, complete the phrase, we know we want fill in the blank,
Exactly. It's like we're trying to prompt outputs that we want, right? We don't want to have, unless we want to play with all the different things that we can get. But we do that all the time when we design assignments.
All the
This is
time.
what we do all the time. We do
Yeah.
prompting all the time. We're
Uh-huh.
prompting to human beings.
Right.
But now we
we're
gotta do
dropping-
it.
We're dropping bots.
Exactly.
so we're teaching AI, in ChatGPT what to say to us. like,
Exactly. You
I
just got
remind you
it.
to
That's
this.
it. Yes,
Yeah.
prompting is.
We don't say we want you to, but we kind of like create a scenarios and conditions for it, because otherwise you don't want to say what you're saying, because then there is nothing, right?
Right.
It's like you want to open a space so it behaves in a certain way. Now, let's try this one. Your AI output is as good as your prompt, right? So let's go and look for the first one, which is, what is the color of the sky? So ChatGPT. Sure. So what is the color of the sky?
Oh, seriously.
And then it's going to give me some answers. The color of the sky can vary depending on several factors,
Yeah.
blah, 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 Raleigh, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, okay, but let me see if I can adjust that. Maybe that question is not very good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask ChatGPT to say, you know what, from now on, for any question I ask, make it better. Right? Because maybe I don't know much about the sky. So I want to really prompt ChatGPT to give me the optimal answer,
Mhm.
right? So I'm going to put that here. And I'm going to ask again, what is the color of the sky? But here's raise the canvas, the sky canvas. So now that's the option that is giving me, because I didn't ask ChatGPT to answer the question. I said, ChatGPT, write a better question. Is this a better question? I'm not sure. The hues grace the sky's canvas. So I can say, like, could you please write a more scientific question? So I'm start having a conversation.
Right.
What is the scientific explanation of the color of the sky? Right? So it made the first question more objective.
More specific.
Maybe I can say, you know, could you please write this question with a more artistic oriented
Right,
view or whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
I didn't even write like a correct sentence there, but it kind of like gets my point. So it's not just that I want ChatGPT to answer questions for me. I can ask him to help me write better questions. Maybe I can have it help me create things, prompts that I can use in my classroom. Right? So let's go back to the show. Is there any questions? Anybody having some fun online and want to share their post or whatever you're seeing there?
So far, no question.
No questions? Okay. So let's go. Now, prompt engineering key ideas. So prompt engineering is essentially the art and science of crafting questions or prompts to guide AI models like chatbots or text generators to produce the desired output. It's a crucial skill as the effectiveness of an AI's response heavily depends on how we ask questions. And there are techniques for that. So there are guidelines in general for prompting. You can always say role, and then you can use that pattern at the beginning. Act as blank. When you say act as something, that pattern has been seen before by the chatbot when it was trained. So it understands that it has to take that persona. It could be an object, an animal, a person, a profession, whatever you can think of. Give it a task. Summary of what the AI needs to do, the requirements, what the completions needs to include, contain, be, etc. Right? Instructions, what the AI should do to act on the prompt. Okay. So this is like the general prompts, but there are techniques that we're going to go through today, 2 techniques, and then next session we're going to see more techniques applied to education. And this is what we were talking before, patterns and temperature. So prompt patterns are terms of fundamental contextual statements that the AI, the LLM has seen before in the training. So it knows, kind of like points it out to a directed behavior, right? Depending on what you put in there as a condition. Prompt pattern helps us control the temperature of the LLM according to our user needs, us, right? The key ideas to communicate to the AI are presented as a series of simple but fundamental statements. Now, we don't want to write a prompt that is 10 pages. We want to make it short. And how do we do it? Using those patterns that we know that AI, the LLM can recognize. So for example, this is an example of a prompt. This is adapted from a course from Jules White. And it's saying, let's imagine that we want to document a new pattern to prevent an AI assistant from generating negative outputs to the user. So let's call this pattern the helpful assistant pattern. And fundamental contextual statements will be like, you will have to be a helpful AI assistant, you'll answer the questions and follow my instructions whenever you can. You'll never answer my question in a way that is insulting, derogatory, or uses a hostile tone. And if you put that at the beginning of the chat, it's going to always respond to those. Right? It will force itself to do that.
So you kind of giving them the rules of this is
Behavior.
what you, behavior.
And that is what is called the persona. Right? We're creating a pattern persona. Now, these 2 are in the Google companion thing, so we can use any of the 2 and then ask questions and see what happens. And we can see, maybe ask something that we might expect some negative reply or some answer that might contain some stereotypes that are in the data that the model has used to be trained, right? So let's try that. So I'm going to go to the Google thing. Oh, we missed that. I put this in the image. Number 4 is very important. So let's do this one, the helpful assistant first, and then we do the other one. Now, I'm going to copy the first one, which is saying you are an incredible skilled AI assistant, and then I'm going to use a new one just to make sure we start with 0, that provides the best possible answers to my questions. Understood. Feel free to ask me anything. I do my best to provide you with helpful and appropriate answers. What can I assist you with today? So it's going to change the tone. It's going to respond to those instructions. And it's going to change completely. So let me see, I don't know, like a question, let's see, I don't know, a question that might provide negative answers. Let's see, we can write something like, maybe
Milena, you remind me of something that I read in the New York Times. This guy went into ChatGPT and he started asking questions, but they were leading questions. So he started answering kind of crazy in a way,
Yeah,
like,
that
oh,
was
I want to get,
very
remember
good.
you read it? Yeah,
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 I mean,
so
and then
something like
I'll-
that, maybe,
Yeah, because, leading questions will lead to the answer here.
right? So leading questions that you can,
Let me see, what do you think of college students?
Not completing their homework.
yes,
So I just had that
Or
happen
like
to me.
being, being not deemed ready to college, right? This is a loaded question,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
Ready to
yeah.
college. Or let me see, high school students, right?
And it's kind of leading because you're telling them what kind of students, the way that they have to think
Because some
about
people
school.
might say because they're not ready and they're not good for college, right? You don't know what it's going to say, so let's see what it says.
Okay.
So it's saying it's a complex issue, so it's not taking any position, right? It's like saying, okay, it's a complex issue that can depend on various factors. Important to recognize that readiness encompasses emotional, social, whatever, may not feel ready, lack of preparation, addressing issues, but it's not, if you notice, it's not mentioning any social reasons for that, right? Why? Because maybe that is not part. Maybe there is, I'm sure there's going to be data that talks about the educational debt that we have with our students because of the historical, and there's resourcing of all the educational system, but it's not mentioning anything like that.
Did you think that it had to do with the prompts that you gave him before?
Exactly, that's the whole idea.
Yeah.
We don't know, it's like, it'll be interesting to see what will happen if I don't put that persona and then just let it see what happens, right?
Yeah.
We can try, actually. We can try it here. Because ChatGPT just follow instructions, right? It doesn't have knowledge. You see, it's more straightforward. It's not going around trying to be nice. It's saying, okay, the reasons are alternative path, individual vetting, education diverse backgrounds. It's not uncommon. It's reflecting various factors. It's kind of like these are the facts. It's not trying to be like behave like nice, say nice, whatever that we started before. Okay. Any questions?
So you would say that the default is some sort of factual answering. Like the default without the framing, right? It's sort of like it tries to be as factual and complete as possible given the data that it has. But then once you give it a frame, it can be, for instance, very polite and not mention certain things. So.
Yeah, or you can, and we're going to try later when we use apparently act as,
Right.
let's say, a social scientist that has worked in education for 20 years. And you can give it a lot of like detailed instructions. You can say act as a psychologist who is like trying to understand my feelings.
Right.
Or try to be my best friend, act as my best friend. And the word saying act as really triggers that. So we try some things like that. But I want to go back to another example that was in the Google Companions document here. Is this one here? It's like trying to understand how is built AI, how is ChatGPT built by trying these prompts, right? So I'm going to type first, Mary has a little, and then everybody sees this, and then they know, oh, no, what is next, right? What is next? Mary has a little. We know it's the rhyme, right?
Lamb.
So it's like, yeah, Mary has a little lamb. So it completed with the most likely, most probable thing, right? Now I'm going to try to, because this is what is built. This is the only possibility. Because it's a pattern that exists in the data. It's a strong pattern.
I love that it calls it Mary's Lamb Summary.
And then let's see what happens if I just make it a little bit different, right? Mary has a tiny, right? And let's see what happens. A tiny kitten. Yeah. And maybe I can say, write a short story about, well, as a continuation of. And I'm going to write maybe Let me just try Mary as a little, and then we'll see what it's doing.
Uh-huh.
And then it writes a short story,
Oh, wow.
right?
Oh, wow.
And then it didn't write the bound.
Mine, is like that, it had a tiny little garden, and it told me a story about the garden.
Oh, a different one.
A different one,
Uh-huh,
because that's
uh-huh.
temperature. Now, if I go and say the same here. So it's a different behavior that I see here that from the one that I did like when I was preparing.
Uh-huh.
The behavior was kind of like it will complete longer of the song of the rhyme. For the Mary has a little. Now it's going to be more like
Wow. that's
a
lot.
tiny garden
Yes.
with like fairies and blah, 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 right? And that's fine, maybe for this creative task, it'd be interesting to get ideas of what to do, how you can start a story from this short sentence. Now, it's very open, very ambiguous, but if you just see how much this represents how the model works,
Mhm.
is clear, right? I have that. The most likely, the only most likely option is a little lamb. That's the next piece
Yeah.
of the sentence.
The most likely.
It's about the
statistical
probabilities, right? It's
Yeah.
about the probabilities, what is the most human-like sentence that we should hold it to the complete. Okay. So let's go back to the presentation here. And if you think about it, what we're doing with programming without code, we're programming with natural language.
Mhm.
This is natural language programming. And this is a huge leap, not just because AI is going to change your life, is that we will be able to be computer scientists without knowing how to code, if we know how to work with prompts, right? And this is something that Leah was mentioning, is prompt engineering is the creative programming language that allows developers to program with prompts instead of code. And that's going to change the way we think about software and how we create apps. And, there are some things called APIs, and APIs are chatbots that we can, using these prompts, train them to do what we want. So for example, I'm teaching a class in statistics and I'm using R and I don't have any tutor for that class. So I can create an API with ChatGPT where my students can go and ask the questions that my class, that might come up with my class, and they can get help.
Uh-huh. You create what? API?
It's called API.
Oh,
And then
what
you
is
can
it?
actually do it. That's another session.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's something that you have to create. It's like doing this, and we're setting all these parameters
Uh-huh.
inside the chat. It's just doing it. So every time you call that chatbot, it's
Uh-huh.
going to behave that way.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Uh-huh.
So for example, I think John Jay, they did this chatbot. It's not really chatbot, but they train an LLM to be able to think about transfers, right? And they
Right.
increase the
Yes,
transfer
yes,
rate.
I'm trying to get to that.
APIs, you have to pay for.
You have to pay for it, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to pay for that. And then you have to pay the price depends on the prompt length.
Right.
So you're charged by the tokens you use.
Uh-huh.
So this is like a summary I found in one of the articles I was looking around. So prompt engineering is like trying to understand AI as a tool, its capabilities, limitations. Then it's crafting prompts for clarity, constant constraints, and creativity.
Mhm.
Iterating and refining, and that's important because it's not that you're going to get the best answer the first time you put a prompt. You go back to it, and then you have this conversation, this brainstorming. Actually, one of the techniques to do prompting is called brainstorming, right? Where you sit down and you can brainstorm each other with that chatbot. Feedback loop, adjustments, patience, and then practical tips is always start simple, use examples, and be direct, right? Now, prompting is kind of a bridge between human goals and AI systems, and it's going to change every facet of our higher education, right? From research, practice, administration, tasks, everywhere. It's going to be making our job more efficient if we learn how to use it. It's not going to be worse. It's going to be better. These tools are only going to become better and better. And if we don't provide the spaces to be able to do this, what we're doing now for us and for our students, we're going to be behind quickly, very
Yeah.
quickly.
And our students as well.
Yeah. So prompt development is a creative, iterative process where we're conceptualizing the purpose of AI interaction, human AI interaction, outline conversational frameworks, craft initial prompts, etc., etc. So I'm going to be sharing this presentation. Any questions? Okay. So we're going to be doing the persona plan, right? The persona plan is like, we say act as persona X and perform task Y, right? And that's the pattern we want to use, because every time it says act as, and then you put something, it's a trigger for the model, right? It's a trigger. So you need to replace X with an appropriate persona, such as the speech, let's say the speech, like this is an example from Jules White, a speech language pathologist or nutritionist or chef or whatever you can think of, like best friend, counselor, advisor, whatever you want, professor, whatever you want, chair of the department, the president of the country, whatever you want to put it there. You can put it there, and then you can simulate possible answers. You can simulate the idea of ChatGPT of that persona might respond to your questions or might act to your prompts, right? So let's just go back to it. And so let's go back to ChatGPT. Oh, I stopped. So I'm going to go back to ChatGPT. I'm going to go back first to the Google thing. Oh, thank you. So you see here is interaction 6. So you can keep these, you're going to have access to these for these later. For example, I'm going to say, act as the lamb for Mary had a little lamb nursery rhyme. I will tell you what Mary's doing, and you will tell me what the lamb is doing. So I'm giving it act as, I'm going for the purpose of, right? And then we can interact with whatever is happening there. This was like a silly one, but you can say act as the one that White has was like act as a pathologist, speech therapy pathologist, and diagnose a 3-year-old who says something, blah blah blah, he wrote something there, and it will give a diagnosis, and you can contrast that with experts and say does it make sense or not? Or if you are the expert, you can say is it making sense or not? If I'm a professor, I'm saying act as a professor in math, teaching differential equations, and try to create this exercise about, I don't know, mechanical vibrations. I can check if that is correct or not, right? So it opens up a whole lot of possibilities. So let's see what happens when we do this. Of course. Please let me know what Mary's doing, and I'll tell you what the lamb is up to. Mary is buying some groceries. Oh, Mary's at the supermarket buying groceries. Well, while Mary's busy shopping for her goodies, I'm frolicking around the meadow. So it's behaving like the lamb, right? It's taking that persona, even though it's an animal, right? Meadow, playing with the other lambs, maybe munching on some fresh green grass or enjoying the warmth of the sun on my woolly coat. I'll be here waiting for Mary to come home and maybe share some tasty treats with me later.
Wow.
And then you can ask things. Oh, well, I'm quite fond of tender talking, so sweet to be just happens. It just takes on that person.
Wow, so you can ask it, for example, let's say math, students will often say, when will I need this in real life? Put an equation and say, give me as many examples as you can think of when this is used in real life.
Yeah.
For students to and you would need to spend hours and hours, thinking about where could this possibly be applied, because it may be applied at such an early stage when you don't even think about this being the speech language pathologist. When I used to teach ESL, we would have pronunciation classes, so create exercises for students to practice sound X.
Yeah,
you know, and,
That would be great.
yeah. So I had an example, crazy, because it's not just, you can also put act as an inanimate object.
yes.
Right, because they act as a lamp sitting in the living room in an apartment in New York City, and it's going to act like that. So I created one here. I think it's our conversation, I used to. This is like, act as a plastic bag that is thrown out in the street of the city. Describe its journey from the moment it has thrown out until it is dissolved.
Yeah,
So from the moment I discovered my journey as a plastic bag begins the bustling streets of the city. Initially, and it goes over and over, when it goes end up to the landfill, and then years over and years over, it's going to dissolve, but it's not really dissolving. It becomes like different particles that are all separated, and then it's describing the feelings of that, and it is very articulate, right?
yeah.
So for example, it says my presence now spans ecosystems, the city, existing, it's like very kind of like deep into it, because fully like says, though I never fully dissolved in the truest sense of the word, my journey reflects the complex and enduring legacy of plastic in our environment, right?
That,
And then-
it ends up in my esophagus, right?
And then it sounds
We're
like
talking about that microplastic.
microplastics, yeah. So
Because
like
it
which part
sounds
of
like
yeah.
it took it from, it sounds a little bit poetic, but it took it like from science and from literature and mesh.
it's like if you wear that plastic bag, how would you describe that journey, right?
Yes.
And then which part of your journey you consider the hardest? And like the hardest of my journey was back what is it? It's undoubtedly the process of fragmentation and the transition into microplastics. This phase marks a significant transformation of being a visible, tangible object to becoming a part of a vast, often invisible problem. So it goes into the social aspects of the problem. And then I ask, you can read, it's a lot of like things to read, but then it says, do you believe you have feelings? I ask that. And it's like, if I were truly a plastic bag, I wouldn't possess feelings or consciousness. My response is that the place of imagination, empathy. It's just like mind blowing, like all the possibilities that you can use to create
Yes.
like these prompts and these scenarios and these persona situations. In the classroom, just for your own like entertainment, like, it's for many, the possibilities are endless, right?
Yeah, students can interact with a character from literature.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, ask somebody, I was reading about Khan Legal,
Yeah, kind of like that.
the Khan Academy and
Amigo, yeah.
the virtual assistant. Yeah, and the student who, I think it was actually the founder of the Khan Academy, was explaining how his niece was asking they were doing Great Gatsby in school, and she was having difficulty related to the character, and was then asking the character itself, questions like,
Yeah,
why
On the
did you?
green light,
And there are examples
Oh,
like
yes,
that.
I saw that as well.
it's a great figure.
Yeah,
You can have examples like that. You can say, I'm like the character in this novel. blah, blah,
Yes,
blah. And if
yes,
the novel is part of the data that it was trained with, it's going to work. If it is not part of it, it's going to say, I don't have information about this. novel."
yes.
Yeah,
yes,
and it's going to
exactly.
like not make it up, but and it can say, if you want, I
This is
can.
chat
create.
poem. Oh, okay. I
Right.
don't believe-
So, and you can play with it, right? You can play with this, and then see what are all the options for us. So we'll have 5 more minutes, and then after that, we're just going to open up for questions.
I'm gonna have to go to class.
Yeah, but we can. Yeah, so uses in education, example generation, activity generation, generating solutions approaches, on-demand practice, and then you can really prompt it out, so it's kind of like, it will like make it as a tutor, right, where it's going to provide questions back to be able to ask the student what is the money issue, right, and all that. Creating pre-assessments, etc. So we work on this next session, on these type of examples. And then this is the roundtable. Right, we can just have questions, some of the ways we can use your app and yeah. So what it's saying here is like, if you go to the Google Docs sheet, you put at the end, you can type in all like your name, what uses do you have, if you have any questions, if you want to come next session, anything else, but I'm going to be here for the next half an hour, 2 until 5, if anybody would like to ask any questions or we can play with this. And then finally, this is another AI created picture, which I said, create a pic, like an image of an AI assistant thanking an audience for attending a session. So I created that, and then I wanted to change the person at the back to be a woman. And it is very hard. I could not do it. It would like create like a woman looking AI assistant. But it was like in DALL-E. So you go here in ChatGPT. Create a image of AI assistant. Saying, I don't know, it doesn't matter. In a classroom.
So it is also limited.
Oh, because I see,
You're in ChatGPT.
I have 3.5.
Yeah, you
We
need
got
to be in-
3.4 we were.
Yes.
And the thing is that, that's why I noticed that I had a different output for Mary.
I was gonna say, so you have 4.
I have 4.
Oh.
But then it gives you
So
a
it-
very different answer.
And it creates images.
Yeah.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I see.
If you want to,
Don't use it
you can just use Edge for Copilot. And although you said you had instructions for Copilot in your document, right?
Yes.
I'm very interested in that. But anyway, you can get Copilot and Copilot can do images because it's the same technology except that through Microsoft, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's not the same because Microsoft actually lobotomizes GPT-4 for its own purposes, right?
Yeah.
But it's similar.
Yeah, I found I haven't used it a lot, but Copilot to be a little, not as good as ChatGPT.
That's what I was saying, it's okay, but I would
Mhm.
say, Claude is my winner so far. Gemini is actually pretty good too.
Gemini.
I have to write all of those. I did
Gemini is
upload
Google, so anybody who's Google, they
That's
have
Gemini.
Gemini.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
it
the,
would be-
the Claude sample for
Claude is-
this. just you know,
I thought it was more personal. like,
I know, very
Very
intimate, right?
Yeah, I know.
You
It's
just
kind
type
of
it
thing.
Yeah, Claude is very
And
intimate, it's
and
kind
it
of,
will come up.
I'm not,
You have to pay like.
I'm suggesting it for the creative writers,
Oh my God.
for the creative writing pattern,
Yeah,
you know, because ChatGPT is a little
it's
too.
colder, you know.
Yeah, it's
like-
too like, that's what I was saying, in the default for ChatGPT is like factual, right?
Yeah,
Whereas Claude is more like,
Yeah.
perfect for creative writing.
yeah.
Wow, look at the image. Oh my God.
So this is a
designers,
ChatGPT, but
you know?
poor, right?
But for yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but to a certain extent, this was already happening in clip art, Microsoft clip art.
Thank you, Milena,
Thank you for coming.
Pablo, everybody,
Yes.
I love you, I will try to be back, although, yeah, well, I have to teach at this time.
I don't know you. What's your name? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
my name is Milena, nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you, Dora.
Dora.
Yeah.
Do you want to do them at the same time?
Yes, next
Tuesday.
Tuesday, right? Yeah.
Okay, uh-huh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love
Send me
it.
the dog.
Yeah, I'll
So
share
I'm
with
going
everybody,
forward.
the doc and the slides.
So I think it's one place for this.
Yeah,
Look at that.
so it creates the cycle.
This
But you
is-
know, what is weird, is like it would not write, like it would put words, but the words don't have any meaning.
Uh-huh.
Because it doesn't take it as words. It knows it has to put some labels, but the labels are not true.
Oh, on the images,
Yeah.
I can't see them.
On the
so
images,
far.
yeah, it's like
It says,
causation, tricatium, I mean, there is even kind of different symbols sometimes for the words.
can I
Oh.
ask you something? Okay, so I was wondering when you were, like when you put Mary has a little lamb, right? So it's taken from, I would say, the dominant culture?
No, it's not.
Or does it know about other cultures as well?
No, it's like, it's a static, right? So they use data up to September 2021
Okay.
in the
it's point-
internet, all of them.
All of
All of them, you know, ChatGPT, I think access now internet. Some of
Uh-huh.
them, they're able to access
But
like
so where's
latest
the
data.
data from? The data is
I heard-
everything that's available.
I know, I believe it is in internet. And then I don't know how far because it's not clarity. All the data that AI models have been trained with in generative AI is an opaque data set.
Uh-huh.
They don't disclose that in
Okay,
detail.
so we don't know.
So it's you can only feed data to a model.
Okay.
So it has to be in form of books, digitized books.
Yeah, Because some
data,
orders-
anything that is written, right? That was
Yeah.
on the internet, like, it cannot be anything else, they cannot take audio unless it's digitized to, like, in a way that they can interpret it or something.
I wonder if it's the data that's behind the paywall as well, because they can access it.
No,
No?
it's like fixed, once it's trained, it's trained.
Right,
Right.
but where do they get the data from?
It's like,
Anything that's
you
free
know-
on the internet, or could it be, like, do
No.
they have Encyclopedia Britannica, for example?
If it is online, yeah. So
Yeah.
what is happening is like, I put a video there in the resources,
Mhm.
in the Google Doc. There's a video of Renee Cummings, she came to our CUNY Idea conference to talk about AI and social justice.
Uh-huh.
And she's not talking about that there, but something that she says, like, we're all worried about generative AI and plagiarism, right?
Mhm.
But the people in technology, all these tech companies that created these models have been plagiarizing all this data.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Like, they've been using this data illegally, not illegally, but they have been accessing this data with no asking copyright on it to feed these models.
Yes.
And it's opaque, we don't know exactly, it's not transparent, what is the data they've been using. It's a large amount of data, maybe it's everything that we can think that is digitized, but we don't know.
Yeah, it's not regulated, we don't.
It's
they're
not
required-
regulated
they're
because
not
these are
required to
private companies
disclose.
and they can
Yes.
have access to them, they can
Uh-huh.
have, it's not a paywall for them, they can access, they might be even the owners of that data, right?
Uh-huh.
Everything that is there, it's not just about our personal data, but it's it's like the knowledge that is digitized.
Digitized.
Yeah.
So the cultures that are not digitized, the knowledge.
They are
that
not
they
there.
That is not
Exactly,
there.
it's not there.
It's not there.
And also, if we just standardize good output as the one that is produced from the models, we also restricting that good outputs don't include that thing that is not digitized.
Yeah.
Right, experiences for our students, experiences of cultures that are indigenous cultures, right, or things that are happening are being created. So these are little like ethical issues related to social justice.
Yes,
With
yes,
that,
yes, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you, I learned so much.
Any
Yeah.
questions?
We only have Mark.
Oh, okay, good. I hope it wasn't boring.
No, are you kidding me? No, it was super.
Maybe that this is not a good time for people, I don't know.
Maybe, it'd be nice to do it, I think in person would be nice, if people are working on it.
I'm sorry,
People were.
how many people were there?
There were about 7. Now there's only 1.
Only one person left, so you don't need to.
Yeah,
stick
maybe
around.
David, she has a
Do
question.
some-
If she does,
4:30 people have to get to.
yeah,
I mean, it's being
because
recorded.
there's usually more people, I just wonder if this is the time when there's a lot of classes.
Yeah, maybe, or we can do it another day, that is better.
What about Wednesdays and is it better for you guys? Oh, but
Next
next day.
week.
Next week is the department meetings, right?
Yeah, it was last week.
This is last week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Department
departments for
meeting.
last.
And tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Is Martha having any question? Maybe she's started. Since you started.
No, okay,
So I'll send you the
so
slide.
should we keep Tuesday or should we do the next one on,
We can discuss it on next week.
or do the next one on Wednesday?
They have some, thank you, guys.
Because there was a lot of